Hello, everyone. Welcome to Quest Unplayed. Quest Unplayed is where three gamers. It was supposed to be three gamers, but Anthony has something going on, so he hasn't. He's not going to be joining us today, or hope he does in the middle of it. But usually, it's where three gamers talk about everything about gaming and have fun together. I'm George, the co-host of Quest Unplayed, and this quest is joined by Zach.
Good.
and and we have another guest, Nils.
Hello.
All
Yeah.
right. Excited to talk about his game. But before we actually start, this podcast is sponsored by Minimap, your ultimate gaming hub and a gaming companion app. You can sync your game accounts, make your own game collections, connect with other gamers, and just basically do anything and everything about gaming. And let's play that sponsorship video, which is like a warm-up video for us.
Very good.
Awesome. It's kind of like wakes us up a little bit because I'm here at middle of the night and Zach is in his middle, like early morning, and Niels is in the middle of the afternoon. So we're like all over the place, like we just
Everywhere.
Yes.
Everything. Every
Yes,
part of the
we're
day.
like basically the pure definition of a global podcast, I would say. We're all over the place. Yeah. All right. It's gonna be fun though. So this time, for today's episode, we're not gonna have the game news because we're a little bit short on time. So we'll just jump straight into the gamer type and find out what type of a gamer Niels is. Are you ready, Niels?
Yeah. Let's bring it on.
Okay. So, right. Okay, it is finally the weekend after a long, tiring week. Would you ask a friend to play a video game together, or you need to spend quality time alone?
Definitely with someone together.
Okay, nice. The new game that is just released isn't my type, but a friend is urging me to play with. It is not my cup of tea, so I refuse at first, but it would be fun if we play together. Or you listen to your friend's words and play together right away.
A bit of both probably. Let's see which one is most. I'll probably refuse at first, but I would probably get convinced eventually. But yeah, most of the time I don't feel inclined right away. Then I think busy times, and then I'll probably join in another session. So probably the top one.
Nice. You are thinking about joining a community with strict terms to get game information. From self-introduction to attendance check, that's too much. Or it has good information, so getting ranked up after 3 days is no problem.
Ooh, what kind of strict terms would this be about?
Probably like you have to post several knowledgeable or useful information related to that game, or you need some like how Reddit does it. You need certain amount of karma before you can actually read other people's stuff or like start posting.
Yeah, I really like these kind of systems because it engages people, and but I tend to be a lurker a lot of the times as well. So I'm a bit in between with this one as well. I think. I think. Since I'm a pro for it, then if I like that community, I will go for it anyway. So yeah, I would join and do the bottom one.
Okay, nice. Before buying a game, you carefully read over other people's reviews, watch the trailer, check the price, or if the game looks interesting, you trust your instinct and make a purchase.
Well, with a lot of time spending on making games, I tend to have a huge backlog. So I tend to not buy stuff on day one because I just don't have the time most of the time.
Right.
But if I do, then I still go on my gut feeling. So I think the bottom one, but always kind of delayed. So I'm still influenced about other people's opinions also. So I think the bottom one is more important to me.
Okay.
But the top one is definitely influencing because, yeah, I don't buy stuff right away, I guess.
What was just a quick question? What was like the most recent purchase of game for you?
Ooh, good one. I think Balatro.
Oh, nice. That's a good choice.
Yeah, that was like the first vacation in a long time after the game released, and we went to France, and during the car ride, I played some Balatro on the Steam Deck, which was like a perfect match for it. So
Nice.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was yeah. But it was already quite up the hype. Everyone loved it already. So yeah, bit again of both. But I think in this case, at the bottom.
Nice. Good choice of a game to buy. Next
Yeah.
question. If someone is watching me playing a game from behind, it's the perfect opportunity to show my amazing gameplay, or I'm actually good at it, but due to the pressure, I'm missing skill shots.
If people really focus on it, I'll probably be the bottom one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're playing a newly released game for the first time. Rather than having regrets later on about missing something, I go over the tutorials, or the game seems to be similar to the one I've played before, so I skip the tutorial.
Ooh, I always want to skip the tutorial. I hate it when tutorials just take you for a really long time and you feel like you're stuck until the game starts. But I also really respect that some things are best to describe in a tutorial first, and then the developer has thought it through, and I understand these things. So I would not skip the tutorial. Yeah.
So how difficult was it for you to implement tutorial for your game?
I think what we wanted to do is make it simple in a way where even if you drop the game and you don't play it for a couple of months and then you pick it up again, that it should be intuitive and you pick it up really quickly. So that was one of the criteria. So we don't want too many things going on. And we also wanted to have multiple things going on while still using a very simple control scheme. So we ended up having an interact button that interacts with all kinds of different shadows, but it's still one button, which kind of makes it simpler, at least for the player. So, and that caused it to be able to have a relatively short tutorial. And then it's still a bit daunting because you're getting used to all these new kind of ways of traversing through shadows in the game.
Yes.
But technically, the things that we teach the player is only like 3 prompts or so, and that's like in the first 5 or 10 minutes, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, skipping. Yeah, you tend to regret it. So
yeah, and
no
then
fun.
and also like before I kind of started working for Minimap, doing all these interviews with the devs, I would always just like skip tutorials because they're like, oh, I mean, I've played game enough. I mean, I've played many games, but then like now I hear like how important and like how difficult it is and how much time they spend into like implementing these ideas into tutorials. Like I'm like, I respect them, like they probably spent quite a lot of time in that, and I'll just like try to experience it just to see like how it like kind of unfolds before the actual game. So
but I do appreciate that games make you able to skip tutorials.
Yes.
There are some games where I'm like, okay, this is the third or fourth game in a series or whatever, and then you still have like a 1 hour tutorial where you're like, yes, I understand that you don't want to lose any players, but yeah. So skipping a bit availability is great, and then always being able to find it back, and because sometimes you feel that urge to just jump in and experiment.
Yeah. Skip button.
Skip buttons are good.
Yep. Very, very important. You're playing a mystery solving game. Based on my years of experience in my mystery solving game, that guy is a culprit. Or that person looks suspicious, but I need to start collecting evidence first.
Ooh. Also a bit of both. But I reckon that, especially in games where you can just experiment and play around,
Mm-hmm.
I do like to just go on the hunch and just go all in and see what happens, and then ruin it, and then do the second option and do it more with the Evans and everything. So I think I would probably go for the top result just for fun and experimentation, even though I know that I should probably be wrong.
Yeah, I mean it's a Mr. Solving game, not like an actual crime that you have to solve as a
No,
detective.
exactly.
You might as well just have fun a little bit in the beginning.
You'll also experience another part of a game where if you kind of know that you're going to do it wrong, but the game is prepared for your
Yes.
sort of assumptions, that's always interesting to see as well.
Yes, yeah. Next question. In order to equip the rune that increases defense by 0.01%, you have to return to the lobby. 0.01% is not a big difference, and my friends are waiting, so I just go, or you tell your friends to wait, and you go back to the lobby to equip the rune.
Ooh. Yeah, if multiple people are waiting, I'll probably just go, but I would still feel it during the game where I'm like, yeah, it could be that, or it could be. So I think I still like it to be like intended as I want, but especially nowadays with competitive games, it's more about playing with friends and not about the true competition or climbing ladders or whatever. So I would just dive right in, I think, in this case.
Okay. During gameplay, your companion's character has been bitten by a zombie. You might be able to find a cure, so you decide to accompany them, or everyone in my group can get infected, so I choose to kill them, even though it is tragic.
I'll go for the top one.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's help them out and see what happens.
Yeah. Nice. Do you play a lot of
our doom? Yeah. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was about to say, yeah, it could be the demise of the group, but yeah, that's also an interesting story. Of course, it's an interesting quest on its own.
Do you play a lot of zombie games?
Not necessarily. I tend to not play a lot of first-person or third-person games in general, and I think a lot of zombie games are that. So. I still have to try Project Zomboid, even though it's an older game. But a friend of mine is really into it, and he wants to try it with me. So I'm gonna try that one next for the zombie category. And I still need to play The Last of Us 2, which is also insane that's still on my backlog. So yeah, but those two are definitely up there, which I still want to try.
Yeah, it's definitely a good game.
Yeah, I know.
Project Zomboid.
Yeah, I know. Zach plays a lot of zombie games, so he probably knows his stuff.
Cool.
No.
If you have other recommendations, let me know and I'll check them out.
Well, not ones that aren't first person, third person, but Project Zomboid is a lot of fun. And I think there was that game Togi was coming out with that was kind of like Project Zomboid that I really enjoyed playing.
The Whisper, no, not the Whisper one.
Yeah, it was like Whisper Mountain.
Was it Whisper Mountain?
Yeah.
Toge.
Toge.
Look that one up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Yeah, it was even though it's an older game, Project Zomboid, it is still really well put together, and then you can do so much. You can hotwire cars. You can. All kinds of things, but it does
has
tell you
all
right
these
away
ingredients.
Yeah, it does tell you right away you're going to die
friends.
immediately.
Yeah.
It's like, just so you know, you're probably going to die. And you're like, oh, good.
Yeah. Which is part of the charm. Yeah.
Yes.
And Left 4 Dead, right? Left 4 Dead is a really good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also
one great with friends. So yeah, these kind of games I really like to play with other people.
Yes.
Yeah, that might pop up with your with the quiz as well, I think.
Yeah. Next question. Even if I don't express it, I feel like I keep losing because of my friend. First, are they not feeling well? I lift up my friend's spirit. Or you send them a link to the characters, tips, and tricks and suggest that gameplay.
I think I'll go for the top one, but sending a link is like so passive aggressive.
Yes.
But explaining more about the game is also something I do sometimes when they're like, I just don't understand why and then it's like, maybe it's this or maybe it's that, if you know. But I'm also the one asking if I'm the terrible friend, like, hey, what can I adjust to not be the dead weight in your team? Yeah.
Right. Next question. The character has bad performance, but the appearance is totally my type. Considering the balance of my party, I cannot put them in my party. Or I have to put my favorite character in the party no matter the cost.
If it's a multiplayer game online, then they don't have a place in my party. But if it's a single player game, then they can join my party. So in this case, I would say, since I tend to play more online or more with other people, so multiplayer more often, then they are not going into my party.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Next, your current desktop is messy with tons of icons, but it does not affect my gameplay. Or I hate chaotic things. My desktop is neatly cleaned.
Ooh, I tend to be the one with messy desktop, but it's fairly okay right now. I did a thorough cleanse again. Like sometimes at the end of the year is a very good moment to reflect on these kind of things.
Right.
But yeah, it tends to become messy again at a certain time. So I think even though it's not like that right now, I would go for that option.
This one?
The top one.
Top one up, okay.
Yeah.
Before getting into the game, I searched the internet just in case I end up missing achievements, or I have never played a game for the achievements.
Ooh, I think I never start that way. So I would say I've never played a game for the achievements, but I do like when they're there and when you feel like you've explored a game, that you can like, oh, but wait, is there more? And then in the achievements, sometimes you find stuff like, oh, wait, so there's actual other areas of things I can experiment with, and so I like that part of it. But I never tried it just for the achievements.
Just a quick question. So when you're developing a game, do you also have to come up with your own achievements too, like for Steam and stuff?
Yeah. And this is interesting because we also we looked at these kind of tests. This is one of those interesting ways of trying to look at like different kind of players, and sometimes it's interesting to still think about like what do the other players, what do they enjoy, and how can we see if that's already in the game that we're designing, or can we do a specific design choices to bring them in more or to amplify their experience. Or so yeah, it's good to think about these things. And we also tested with other players who are, for example, I'm not an achievement hunter, but we've tested with people who are achievement hunters, like what kind of things would you expect, and gave some examples of what we're thinking of, and see if they like them or if they would try it right away in a test session. So that really helped in that regard.
So what is the most unique achievements that SCHiM have?
Ooh, good question.
Well, if it's like a spoiler, then you don't have to say it. But
no, not necessarily. I think the one that's one of the trickiest ones for achievement hunters is finding all of the lost items. So the items that have lost their shadow as well. So you need to help them reunite with their SCHiM. So finding all of these objects in the world is quite a tricky one, and not a lot of people have found all so far. Some of them are quite well hidden, and some of them are quite findable. So I think that is probably one of the bigger ones, and not necessarily for the achievement hunters, but more for like power gamers or people who really want to show that they're really good at a game. We also added in like a couple of hard modes that you unlock when you finish the game. So normally you have like a second hop, and you will respawn in like a previous shadow. But we also have a couple of options where you can only respawn a total of 20 times in the full game. and you don't respawn to a previous shadow, but to the start of a level, and removing the second hop. These three options you can combine, and combining all three makes the games insanely hard. So that's something that achievement hunters can go for, but also the power gamers can show that they really have finesse with the game and make it work.
Okay.
Yeah, so those two probably.
Okay, for those achievement hunters, go get
Yeah.
it. Last question. You who happens to play lots of games, you play a game you feel like playing at the moment from your collection, or you have a gaming schedule on when to beat a certain game?
The gaming schedule doesn't really work for me, even though sometimes I feel like I want to explore more games and then I plan them in, but yeah, it doesn't always work out. But I tend to try every now and then and try for like half an hour a new game at least to at least get an idea of it. And then I also feel more inclined to try it again later and really take my time for it. But most of the time it's something that I know and it's more like a relaxation. So something from my collection, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what you got.
Here
Here we go.
Oh, you're a mind reading merchant.
All right.
Let's see. You're going to beat me with logic. Let's see. Analysis and quick thinking are my secret ingredients to my wealth. Efficiency is what gets my game business going. I have lots of allies, but as a trade-off, I also make lots of enemies. You want to start an argument? Bring it on, because I've never lost in one yet. Team play is nice, but I'm also good at being a solo vendor. Multi-gaming is fun, like you said. Not afraid to criticize an unfair system because I have a sharp tongue. You hate talking to non-conversationalists.
Yeah. It makes me sound a little bit sharper in gaming than I think I am, but I at least think these things sometimes where it's like, hey, but maybe it's like this. So yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of emphasis on playing with other people. I think that's a big one for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're good with
Cool.
Scientific Alchemist, and you like survival PC games, survival games.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
I don't play a lot of survival games, but yeah, when I do with other people, then it can be fun. But they also tend to take a lot of time, so maybe that's part of why I don't play a lot of them, I guess.
A lot of time.
A lot.
Yeah.
And
But these have these stories that unfold that are not really made by the developer, but it's like the developer creates a world where these stories can happen, and that's something I do like. Yeah.
Some role playing.
Cool.
yeah. So yeah, thank you for taking the gamer type quiz.
Yeah. Thanks.
So what is your favorite
I'll know more
genre?
about it.
What is your favorite genre of games then?
I appreciate indie games a lot, and but I tend to go to sort of games that I can turn my mind off that do require a bit of strategy. But so I play Hearthstone Battlegrounds every now and then, just as a sort of relaxation kind of thing, and that's something I can just go to and have just half an hour of a session and just play a game. So I like those kind of games, but yeah, also games that do stuff differently, like a lot of cool indie games. They tend to focus on something, really zoom in and make that stand out and do that really well. I really like that as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump straight into the companion waypoint. This is where we meet the dev and we talk about your game and your studio. Before we've already talked for like almost half an hour, but still, this is like the first time. Oh, hi! What's your name?
When did you get here? I don't remember.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. But one cool thing is that your background has a poster of SCHiM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SCHiM, or SCHiM.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll probably try my best. I'll probably keep saying like skim, all that different pronunciations. But before we actually dive into the questions, let's watch the trailer because trailers. I watched it several times, but it looks pretty cool, and I really love the music too. So I just really thought about it.
Yeah. This music's dope. Uh-oh, there we go. All of them.
You really have to come up with a plushie. That plushie is gonna be so cute.
Yeah, absolutely. We made some wool felt plushies
Oh,
for events,
nice.
and we put them down at the stand and everything. And I always tend to count them every now and then, and every now and then we lose a couple because people just really like them and just take them away. So, I keep making new ones, but we still have some
Nice.
at least.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So you have to really explain what SCHiM means.
So it's the creature that we see. That's what we call a SCHiM, and it's a little shadow creature, and it jumps from shadow to shadow, as you see. And in the beginning of the game, you are connected to your person, and during at the beginning of the game, you see their life kind of unfold. See happy memories and some more traumatic or more dire situations for them. And at a certain point, life doesn't completely go their way, and they lose their job, and a couple of other things happen. And then, as you saw as well, they literally fall, and then they get disconnected from their shadow, sort of their identity and who they want to be. And then that person, he goes around in the world with an empty shadow. He runs off, and he needs to find himself. And you, as a little shadow creature, hop from shadow to shadow and try to get back to your person again. So that's kind of what the game is about. And some people they just find it fun to just hop around the shadows, and some people really want to go into the story as well. So it's a bit of both. Yeah. As a short summary, at least, and then the word itself, because I think we talked about that earlier before we started recording. But the word is a Dutch word, and it kind of means shade, but also like kind of if you see something just in the corner of your eye and you just missed it, and you saw something moving, kind of that kind of thing as well. But also if something is a remnant of what it used to be, so it kind of matches the story element of it as well. Yeah.
It's got lots of meanings.
A good word in Dutch. It's not used very commonly, but it's a good match for the creature in the world.
That is actually a perfect word, I guess.
Super unique.
So you want to start off with some questions, Zach?
What?
You wrote down some questions.
I did write down some questions, but actually, sorry, excuse my voice earlier this morning. Your game, I love the art in the game, but it also kind of reminds me a lot. Have you seen a game called Haunty, or heard of the game?
Yes, it came out just before our game released, and I haven't played it yet. It's also in my backlog, but it did give me some vibes where I was like, hey, they could be matching some themes. I'm not sure yet since I haven't tried it yet, but yeah, that also looked amazing. Yeah.
It is. Just your guys' art. Like, I like both of the color schemes and everything like that. It looks so much like, kind of not so much like each other. They're definitely different, but the actual color scheme of the whole all green or all orange, and then with the black and stuff like that. Like I really love that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
wonder if that's the way of the future. No, I'm just kidding. But-
Maybe. Well, I think either way for indie games, and maybe more like AAA in the future as well. If you have like a clear, distinct style, or you experiment with some stuff, or it looks a specific way, then that's always interesting to sort of experience, to see, to feel, and yeah. So I think it's good either way that indies try to focus on that, and yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun if people saw like a post that we did or whatever, and they responded like, "Oh, that's that game," and they instantly knew even before we said anything about it, or showed like the name of the game, because there's a distinct style that sticks out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just super appreciate when, I don't know what it is, but when games just have unique art styles, but they are presented in such a way that they are gorgeous. You know what I mean? Like, really drives your eye to them, and it's just nice to see when people try something different than just trying to either be really realistic or whatever, but it actually works. So, yeah, I really dig that color.
Yeah.
I was also gonna
one of our sort of base rules was also that we wanted to, when we made levels and seeds and everything, that we felt like every spot randomly, if we just stop and make a screenshot, that it should look inviting and interesting and intriguing, like what's going on in this world. And so we really tried to test it a lot on that as well. It's like in a way a sort of art piece on its own, and yeah, you really want to look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, because for me, like I saw one of your trailers, and I don't exactly remember which of the showcase it was, but like it was one of those, I forget, like one of those showcases, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at that art style. I mean, it looks very unique, like cute but unique and like very distinctive, and I kind of like it just was left in my memory. It's like, like, oh, that game, like I can see the graphic, and then later on, like and then like later on, I kind of like kept searching, and then like, oh, I remember this game, like I watched it in one of the showcases, and oh, I remember this exact graphic, and
cool.
I think like Nils and Zach said, like having like a distinctive or like a very unique, like their own graphic or art style is very appreciative, especially for like us gamers, because if like all the games have like similar like graphics, then it wouldn't be too much fun. But like as long as it has like a very distinctive one, that like it's at least like eye-catching, like, oh my gosh, that game looks pretty interesting, like even without like knowing what game is, or like having seen any of the gameplays, you just it's like your instinct, like, oh, that's pretty amazing.
I have the feeling that a lot of games, even by small indies or developers, like all games are worth playing, all games are worth experimenting or trying, or every developer put something in the game that's worth it. But the art style can really help invite someone in, I guess. So if you see something and you're like, oh, I'm kind of curious how that feels, how that plays, and then that's a great way to invite people and try it. And then if they like it, then they'll stick around and they'll play through it and enjoy it, love it, maybe, whatever.
The try it, you might like it scenario.
Yeah.
Try it, you might
But
like
especially with a lot of games coming out nowadays, that it's everyone wants to stick out or wants to show what's nice about their game. So yeah, it can definitely help, I guess.
Definitely. Is that character a frog?
It's just kind of like a frog. It's a SCHiM. That's kind of the shortest answer that we give. We looked at some different kind of animals and shapes, but we also really like that the camera is zoomed out enough that it's a little bit hard to define, and it changes shape a little bit every now and then. It kind of lives in this inky shadow like world. So it can also sort of change shape a little bit, but it does have these things that are connected to it that a lot of people are like, oh, so that's the frog legs, and he jumps, and it's kind of in the eye of the beholder, I would say. So we've heard other options and other references as well, which are also nice. But frog is probably one that we hear most.
I was like, is it a frog, a shadow frog? What is it? No, but yeah, I just had to ask because I was like, what was that?
Definitely not wrong. Let's say for sure. Yeah, it's the most common we hear, and it does have a lot of frog-like features. And jumping from shadow to shadow is something that, a shadow frog would like to do, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely it's pretty cool. So, how was? I mean, I don't know if you kind of already explained this, but is there like a background to like what made you guys want to make a game about jumping from shadow to shadow? And because it seems like you already have a very interesting story as to like, your character loses his shadow creature and it's running around looking for it. But is there like, was there like a time when before the game was even being made, that somebody was like, hey, we should make a game about this, and why that came about?
Yeah, so I made it together with Ewout, so we were with the two of us. And Ewout started the project, and he had the art style in mind, at least the basis for it. If you see like an early prototype, it still definitely resembles the game. And he also knew that he wanted to go through shadows and jump from shadow to shadow. So that was a core thing that we had in the beginning. But we didn't have everything fleshed out right away because we felt like we also wanted to play around with it and feel how it would feel, because technically we felt like probably it should be a little bit faster than it ended up being, where we thought like maybe it should even be like more about parkour, or it should be more like a game we talked about was like Cluster Truck, or things where it's just extremely fast and things go around and you just keep going. But as we tried multiple options and tried different sort of camera distances and sort of different angles, we felt like we really wanted to explore the world and see what's going on everywhere and just have a sense of freedom, even though you're bound to the shadows and they're at specific spots. So it's kind of like designed in a way where we know where the player is going to be, but even then the players feel a sense of kind of freedom and exploration, and they can go in a fast route, still like pure platforming, but they can also focus on like, hey, what's going on around the corner? Oh, there's a kid playing with another kid, and what if I interact with the shadows and they respond, or they can see me, or these kind of things. And we started exploring that more, and then it became what it is eventually. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah,
that is. Yeah, I love when you said like, it's bound to the shadow, but then you still have the freedom, just because like all living things or anything has shadows.
Yeah,
except for ghosts.
Anything that's in the light.
Yeah, and we do tricks here and there. Not everything has as like the full shadow, or it's like a shorter version, or because if everything has full shadows and it's like a cloudy day or whatever, then how would that work? But yeah, it was really interesting to design the levels, especially since everything that is decoration is also a platform. So it's really about making a level look realistic, but also making it like, oh, we want to have a platform here, and this would be a moving platform, but it can't just, like a lot of games have like moving platforms that go sideways or back and forth, but that doesn't really relate to anything in the real world. So it's more about like, hey, how can we make that feel realistic with things that would make sense? But
nice.
Definitely an interesting challenge.
Yes. Yeah. So the studio is you and your partner. I don't know how. It's just two of you.
Technically, the studio that I am the co-founder of is called Extra Nice, and Ewout has his own sort of company, and we collaborated in that sense. But he was at our office, and but my other colleague was working on some other projects during the development of SCHiM. So it's a bit of a weirder situation, but it was a nice collaboration in that sense. And we still collaborate on other projects, and who knows in the future.
That is awesome.
Oh, future. That's a future plan.
DLC. DLC coming. I don't know.
We have some ideas, but it's also about like, okay, what should be next, or like there's so many things that are options. We're currently also doing some porting for other indie games.
Mm-hmm.
So we're actually porting their game to like consoles, which is a nice sort of change of pace instead of having the full focus on your own game and all of the steps around it, where you're just like, okay, let's focus on making a really nice port for them, that it works nicely on the consoles, and release it, do all the testing, and different kind of job, but also a lot of fun.
Gotcha. Were you guys doing that kind of stuff before SCHiM?
No, we didn't. No, so it's just it was actually our first introduction to launching on consoles as well. So we already reserved some budget, so in case we needed that, we could hire like a company to do that. But Ewout ended up really liking doing the porting as well. So also why we're now kind of like helping other people with it. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So you got a skill out of it.
Yeah, multiple. It's like
you leveled up.
Had one, yeah, for sure. We've learned a lot from this project, which is great. Yeah, so a lot of interesting, unique experiences.
So how did you two know each other? Like, are you guys like?
So originally, I used to teach part-time a little bit at a local sort of college, university, a little bit in between. A bit hard to define, like in the Netherlands, what the sister is, but which was a game design study, and I was doing some part-time lessons over there. And Ewout was being he was enrolled as a student for like the programming studies, and I met him a couple of times over there. But I also noticed that he was pretty much ready for like an internship, and I told the teachers there that he should probably do like an earlier internship instead of waiting another year. And I was like, he would definitely be a very good match for like being an intern at our company already. So I would definitely advise that he should do that. And they were like, so would he be able to do an internship with your company? I was like, yeah, I guess so. I think so. I'll check with like a colleague. And so he actually did his internship with us after that. He was also interested in that. And he worked in like another game first, and then as a graduation project he already started that in our company, but he was able to make like his own title, and that was like the first prototype for SCHiM, and then we continued from there. So yeah, kind of flowed into each other
That's awesome. Collaborating with your student.
That's awesome. He wasn't directly my student, I would say, but yeah, he was a student at the school, and so indirectly, I
was about to say, you said it, because I was looking at a developer, and you said your company, so you have a company. Is one of them either, unless you've already told us this, and I don't remember, but is it either Play Nice or the other one, the Playism?
Extra Nice is
Extra Nice.
Sorry, yeah.
Playism,
sorry.
Yeah, I know the mix-up, because Playism is the Japanese publisher who did like the co-publishing with us. So they helped us with that. And that was for Asia. So we published globally, and they helped us with Asia, which was really nice because we don't speak the language, and we don't know like how the market is over there. And they did events for us as well over there, and did really cool stuff like physical stuff and physical version in Japanese, and so a lot of cool things that we couldn't have done in the meantime, which was really great. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool that you think about how you interact with other people so they can help you with different markets and. Yeah. I was trying to. The only reason I asked is I'm looking at both of you guys is I was looking at both of the developer or the publishers' backlogs of games. See, so I was like, which one is you? Because you see the company, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Extra Nice, we also did a lot of like client work, or we helped other companies with their games, or we made a couple of serious games, all kinds of stuff that we also really liked. But we've been around for a while. But this was our first big like console release, and that we released on everything, like big entertainment game.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
It's like your final jump into it.
Yeah. Yeah, we were tippy-toeing before that, like had some experiments or some prototypes and like seeing what clicked. So we did a lot of entertainment game prototypes. We Another game that we're currently working on a little bit is called Noble, which also started off like with a prototype and then we let it sit. So that's also what that we did with SCHiM, where instead of going all in right away, first sharing it in the world and seeing like how people react. And because technically I think as a developer you fall in love with every project that you're working on, so but it's hard to judge yourself if you have to do it all or go all in right away, so we tend to just make like an earlier version, then share it, and then just leave it to rest for a little bit. And if it resonates with people, then then we tend to go more all in or pick it up more.
All right, yeah. Super cool.
Yeah, I love because like as an indie dev, you get to try like really like new things. Basically, there's like no limit into what you can do because you're not working for
time
anyone.
and people most of the time
Yeah.
is like the most challenging part. But yeah, ideas, people have a lot of ideas, and a lot of developers have great ideas, and I think it's about exploring them, testing them, seeing what works nicely.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you guys have any like inspirations or something that you really kind of like, not just particularly any other games, but like any other like, I don't know, any other content or any other like movies or media that you were inspired by?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the big inspirations for the art is also the clear line that you see in like comics like Tintin. So it's kind of like the Belgium comic book artists that have this sort of kind of style that also resonates with what we did in SCHiM. So that was a big inspiration. And one sort of accidental inspiration kind of was that Ewout wanted it to be like a fixed color palette, like a limited color palette, because he has a form of color blindness. So that made it easier for him to sort of like make things contrasting, which is a good idea anyway, because like 1 in 12 men have a form of color blindness. So having it really contrasting is good either way, but also really helps to see the shadows and they stick out and they're more clear, of course. And it made it simpler to read the world as you were platforming through these shadows, of course. So a lot of things that ended up mismatching or matching eventually, and then sort of then it clicks, and then it's really nice that it's sort of like, oh, this is what it should have been. There's no other way really, and then that's really good.
That's pretty
and for
cool.
the sort of
go ahead.
Sorry, yeah.
No, I was just saying I'd like to. I was going to comment. That's really interesting. Now that we kind of we talked about the art style, and then you said that you want to limit it to be something due to color blindness. That's actually a pretty cool, tie into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And eventually we ended up with more color palettes because originally we had like one that we tested out. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with these colors that you make you feel like it's a different time of day, or it has a specific kind of feeling for the story, or depending on the colors you use, it evokes emotion or has a sense of place. And that's really nice that we got to experiment with that as well, even though each level only has 4 colors. Yeah,
it's just how you make it work.
Yeah. And I wanted to add, like, for the story, we also felt it had a bit of that sort of feeling like folklore, where it feels like it's a folklore tale, even though it doesn't exist like a real Dutch folklore. But we wanted to create something that feels like that. And from that point, we also were inspired by things like Japanese folklore, where they see that items have value and they could have a soul eventually if they have a certain age, and that kind of matches with this idea of shadows having a living creature in them, and each object and everything in the world has its own living being in there. So that's something that we try to convey, but not go too deep, but still feel like, oh, it's there, and you're interested, and you want to experience these kind of things.
Yeah. That's super dope.
Mhm.
So changing into a little bit of a different aspect, I really enjoy the music of the
Mhm.
game. So like, how did you guys come up with the music? Did you guys like make it yourselves, or was there?
So that's something, because we were two people. That's something that we talked about in the beginning, because we do feel strongly about music and like how it can strengthen this feeling that we wanted to convey. Um, and the good thing was that we shared some short videos or gifs around the internet already, and it got some traction. So a lot of music composers and audio artists started to reach out to us, like from
Oh,
Instagram or Twitter, and that made it really nice because we had a lot of choice and we saw a lot of options that we could work with. And we ended up working with Moonsailor, who are a Brazil-based company, and they also do like TV series, movies, television production, and a lot of games as well. So they had a quite diverse sort of portfolio, but also what we really liked was that based on the videos that we already shared, they
mhm.
made a couple of mock-ups and added like some music behind it and some sound effects, where they were like, it could sound like this is kind of an idea that we have. And that was already really nice to see it come alive a little bit, because it makes it more easy to talk about it.
Mhm.
um, and they went for a little bit of more melancholy kind of direction, based on this sort of, yeah, you're losing your shadow kind of feeling. And we like that, but we wanted to focus more on like the playfulness and the hopping around the world and
Mm.
exploring, and the world is like your playground kind of feeling. So we explained that to them, and they made another mock-up which we really loved, and we knew for sure that it was a good match. So they joined up really early in the project, because we also shared the project really early on Twitter with these kind of videos. So yeah, they went with us for pretty much most of the time that we were developing, and they really helped us with like finding the right feeling and the right kind of ideas for the music, and the nice instruments that make it playful, and
Mhm.
the rhythm that helps with the tempo, that you feel like the interval of jumping through the world. And so it really helps sort of, yeah, like the feeling is complete because of the music, I would say, which is something that we love.
I really think it was a. I don't know if you also agree, but like I think it's really a very good choice for you to kind of start sharing your ideas on Twitter or any of the social networking platforms, because
Hmm.
oftentimes, especially for indie games or indie game developers, they just like are too focused on to like developing their game and just try to make their game like better and great. They kind of like tend to forget about like marketing or sharing their ideas like into the public before. And like once they kind of finish up, they then think about, oh, maybe I should start sharing this, or like maybe should I like create, do I have to create a Twitter account now? Like, and
Hmm.
then it's kind of too late, because it's very, very difficult for a lot of these gamers, because there's so many games coming out and you have no idea until like you see this game, but then like, oh, this is just a game that I might be interested, but let's just
Hmm.
see like how it is, and then they might just wishlist it and like never buy it, or
Hmm.
you never get like that like big traction, I guess.
I think that the challenging part is, however, that if you show it right at the beginning and people
Mm,
think it's almost done,
mm.
uh, then that
They'll
might
be
be
like,
sort of
"Where is it?"
mismatched. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So that's something that we definitely heard for a period, of course, from some
Mm,
people. But most
mm.
people were really happy that we shared it.
Yes.
So
Oh,
there's
yeah.
always that, and I feel like a lot of developers, they don't enjoy doing the marketing, at least, because
Yeah, they
Yeah.
I
hate
feel
it.
like you use the word sharing, which I think is crucial. It should feel like sharing. At a certain
Mm,
point, it doesn't need to be an extra job, or
right.
it ends up being that. But
Mm,
if
Yeah.
that's not up your alley, then maybe find someone who can help you with that. Or there's a lot of
Exactly.
people who are really good at it.
mm,
Um, do that instead of trying to force yourself into that and really hating your job. And
mm.
but it's trying to find a balance. Yeah.
The part of the job you don't want to do.
Well, we enjoyed it, and I think that's part of why it was good. But also, if we wouldn't enjoy it, then we would have to take a step back. That's something that we talked about as well, or find extra help with it, or so it's important to keep it in a way that it's still enjoyable for you as a developer, and really share and get responses and get insights from what people like or dislike, or then it can be really fun to share. But yeah, it's still work, it's still extra time. We ended up doing a lot of the marketing and the extra content creation in the weekend, so then you work on the game during the week, and you do the marketing during the weekend, and then you're like, oh, where's my actual weekend? So yeah, that can happen.
When do you sleep?
Yeah, during the game development of this game, we tended to work a lot. So it's also now in after the release that it's sort of like the moment where I'm actually looking at my backlog again, and playing games and trying stuff, and also other stuff like movies that I missed, or so it's trying to catch up. So it's kind of nice to have this moment before we lock into another project right away. Or, yeah. But yeah, it can be quite daunting.
Yes. So, go ahead, Zach.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, I was just gonna say, and I was, as I was looking at your game yesterday, I noticed that you guys released last year, like July, I believe it said.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions I was curious about and just wanted to ask, because I don't know if we've ever asked a dev, but how's it been since you released the game to now? Like, is it still? Are you still finding things out about the game from other people, or how has it been? How's the experience been since you released the game? And it's kind of, as now you can look at your backlog and stuff, but also that still exists,
Yeah, I think like what was really nice is that we tested it a lot before release, so we didn't find any crucial things that needed to be fixed, or that was broken, or that were so we got some minor things that might come up in a patch in the future, but nothing too big. So that was really nice, because we were quite tired from the development, and then there was this moment after the release where you still have to be ready and respond to stuff. But what I really liked again was a moment, I think that was like Gamescom, which was afterwards, where we showed the game after the release, where we saw people playing live again, because we saw a lot of live streams and we saw a lot of things, but you tend to focus on like, oh, are they enjoying it? Oh, what is the review doing? What is this? What is that? And all these sort of micromanagement things that could tire you as well. And then when we were at Gamescom, we saw people playing again. And it's like, oh yeah, people like this. This is something that we made, and they're enjoying themselves, and this is why we do what we do. So that was really good. And besides that, there's still stuff going on. There's still things that we do, and there's still the work is not completely done. But it's nice that it's more at a sort of doable pace, sort of more spread out, more and then you can enjoy it more as well, because we had a couple of really cool things going on just before release, or that we didn't really have time to think about or to appreciate in that sense. And then you need some time to actually let everything land and appreciate it. And that's around this time, so that's really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I think I forgot who said this, but like, while developing your game, when I asked the dev, like, what's the recent game that you're playing, they're like, the broken version of my own game. What game are you? And like, now that you finally get to go through your backlog, that's really good to hear.
The broken version of my old game.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I mean, the amount of hours that we have in our own game is like insane. It's just that
probably
I spot every little detail in every single level, and it's it might be one of the games that I played the most for sure.
Yeah.
played in the sense of like testing, of course. But
Yeah, that's also work though, you know, like it's
yeah,
not.
no, absolutely, yeah. But I do. The thing that I liked about this project was that during that testing and level design and hopping around the world, it still felt really nice to do that, even after like thousands of hours. I really enjoyed still hopping around and trying to be like, oh, what if it's like this, and what if we find something over here, and like we could make some motion capture animations and put them over there, and then yeah, so that was great.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I got one question from my one of our reviewers who have played your game. She wanted me to ask Sydney, wanted to ask how you guys figured out how they're going to get the story across with minimal appearances from the boys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was like one of the biggest challenges, I think, in hindsight, because we knew what we wanted to tell in the story, but we had a rule that we didn't want to use additional text. We only use text for the tutorial elements, so that's only a couple of prompts where it describes the buttons, but we don't use any text on screen for the storytelling. So all of it is pretty much in animations, in the motion capture that we did. And that was quite challenging. And we had to test it a lot. So we made versions where we're like, okay, so the story is like this, and then these things happen, so we can explain it like that. But whenever we tested it, there was always something that people misinterpreted or thought that there was something else going on. They're like, "Oh, yeah, cool," and so it's about this, and they were like, "Okay," and we're making notes like, "Oh, damn it, we need to do it again." We like it to be interpretable for sure, but some of the stuff was like so wildly interpretable that a player would probably have assumptions of where the game would be going. So at the end, you're like, okay, so at the end, we're going to see this, or I'll probably experience that as we go along. And if we didn't give that to the player, it felt wrong. So we wanted to have those expectations be met in a right way while still being interpretable. And that was a lot of versions, a lot of variations, and a lot of custom work, and like, yeah. But yeah, and it ended up being very much what we wanted it to be. So that's very good.
Nice. So, if you can go back in time, would you do things differently? Is there anything that you want to do differently?
Whew, that's a very good question. I think you should always say yes, but on the bigger scope and like the full project, I would say no. There's always like minute things or smaller things where you're like, okay, what if we did this, or maybe like that, or lean more on this, or try a little bit. There's this. I think as a game designer or as a creative in any industry, probably that's always something that you think about, and you always reflect on these things, and the choices you make, they tend to steer into the product being a specific kind of way or a specific kind of the audience. And if you change the minute thing, then it could also change like the audience or how people think it should be, or so these kind of things are always there, I think. And for the rest, we've experienced a lot of things that we never thought we would experience in our life as game designers, where being part of like the indie world trailer and these kind of announcements and the viral posts that we had and the great receptions that from the people who love it. These kind of things are like insane to experience and are just so awesome. And I wouldn't change anything because it might change those results as well.
That's right.
Yeah, that's an extremely good way to look at it.
Yeah, that's very positive and good way to look at it too.
I think it's important because you do want to reflect, you do want to learn, you do want to change or get better or make the right decisions. But there's in the end, I'm really happy with the game and really happy with the fans and that's the most important part, I think.
Yeah, cool. So, are you guys? Do you have anyone like Do you have any other games that you want to kind of collaborate with? Is there?
Oh, good question. We've met some other cool games that are also shadow based or some other things, and we've met some designers along the way where they were like, "Oh, I saw your game," and we were like, "We saw your game," and then you get super hyped about each other's projects or whatever. So that's also very cool to see if we will collaborate in a way with those people, or we've maybe like a game jam or maybe a project, or whenever they have an idea and they're like, "Ooh, it could be something like this," and we've already talked with one other designer where they had an awesome idea and they were like, "Oh, but I need some shader magic and some love and these kind of things," and they started talking with us about that project, and Ewan was like, "Oh, that also sounds interesting," and he made a little mock-up for them, and so these kind of things are very interesting as well, and we'll definitely keep exploring those.
You're
That's
very
awesome.
open to those, yeah. That'd be
That's
fun
one
though.
thing. Yeah, this is one thing I didn't know anything about until we started doing this podcast. Is game jams, where people are getting together just making games over the weekend. I was like, I bet that would be pretty fun, especially with your own IP and everything like that. And just
Yeah.
yeah,
And those games don't have to be good. It's just like try and aim for something and
Right.
have an idea, and then see how much you can get done in like either a weekend or something like that. And there's one coming up again pretty soon. It's every year in the end of January, which is called the Global Game Jam, and it's like an international kind of thing. And we're
Nice.
also hosting the one in our city this year again.
Oh,
And that's a nice one because you see people that you talk to every now and then, and you work together, and you make teams and get to learn new people. Or it's always good.
so you
The
don't.
games are quite varied, of course, but some of them are really good, and some of them are pretty bad. But at least the fun and the idea was good.
Yeah.
like, well, that could have been cool, but
Yeah. It always
but-
starts off really good. Yeah.
yeah, that's funny.
So
I would love to be a fly on the wall during a game jam.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
like-
there's a lot of
Just record it and see what they're doing. Like,
If you like to see what's going on there with the Global Game Jam, there's a lot of people who live stream their location or they share some thoughts. So I definitely recommend checking that out a little bit. And every now and then, developers make like a sort of post-mortem video on YouTube about a game jam. So then they explain, like, "Oh, this was our idea in the beginning, and then as we went along, this was broken, so we changed the idea, and then an artist became sick, and we changed the art style," and then they explain kind of what they did. It's like, and this is what it ended up being, and it's kind of fun. So these videos are also interesting to look at, I think.
Oh my god, I gotta check those. I gotta check out those.
Yeah, definitely.
just right when you said that, the first thing I did was type in game jam and YouTube, and there is quite a bit of game jams. It's really funny.
Absolutely, yeah.
I gotta
unlimited supply of game jams around the world, but there's a couple of big ones which are definitely worth checking out, even as a fly on the wall, I would say. Yeah.
Creating a polished game roguelike in 10 days, is that even possible?
I would say no, but I mean,
you never know.
I think that's cool about game jams. You have to condense stuff. So if you make it feel like something like that, or at least have the essential parts where it's like, okay, I want it to be like this, and then you get to experience those parts at least, then should be possible.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you don't have anything else to ask, Zach, I think we could hear from Nils. Do you have anything you want to say to the audience or people who want to play the game or who have actually played the game?
Yeah, if people played it or they're planning to play it, they can always join our Discord as well. We are quite responsive there, so it's always fun to hear if people liked it. We always appreciate those messages. If people had specific thoughts or questions, also based on this podcast, then they can send it over there as well. It's available on all platforms pretty much. So please try it out and let us know. I would say,
Yeah. Please make a mobile version. Please.
Yeah, we've got a lot of requests for that as well.
Please.
And we're sort of thinking about what that would be, because it would have different sort of controls, of course. We don't think it's impossible, but it will be challenging. So we'll explore some options and make some prototypes for that as well, and see if it's possible. If it's quite doable, then it should come around. If it's a lot of extra work, as much as making another game, then we have to choose our battles, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who want it, so we'll see how it goes. If people tell us enough, then we know that we should. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. I love it. But we really appreciate you coming to the podcast. Really enjoyed listening to your story and your game. So. And if you have another project or just feel like you're coming back, and just tell me and we can talk about it more.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we can talk more.
Fun. See what your game jams are.
Yeah. If you want to find out like these horrible projects, you can also find us on itch.io, and that's pretty much where we planned all of our like prototypes and game jams, and that's also where we see if people are interested. Or so if you want to try some more hacky, some weird games that we made, definitely check out the Extra Nice page on itch.io. There's some good ones and some bad ones for sure.
Are you saying Itchio?
Yeah.
Or H-I-O? Sorry, I don't know why I pronounced it that way. It might be H-I-O. You're right.
itch.io, right?
Itch.io. I think a lot of people just say Itch.io.
I don't know why. I just think itchy.
I think
and IO.
In the Netherlands, it's common to say the dot, because otherwise people who haven't heard about it, they type it in wrong or whatever. So I tend to just say it like with the dot. So,
it's all good.
Itch.io is a great place for these kind of game jam games and indie games and prototypes. And,
I like Itch.io.
Yeah, me too. I love Itch.io. Just check it out.
Yeah. If you do check out any of those games, let us know what you think. We'll love to hear it as well.
Yeah.
you have a whole page on there?
I think we have like 12 games or something like that over there.
Extra
some
nice,
are doing quite well. Yeah.
And that was
some are weird experiments.
And it was really nice, right? Your development company.
Extra nice.
I don't know why I do that. I'm sorry.
I'll include the Extra Nice itch.io page link to this description too, so that everyone can check it out.
I was gonna say also probably if you like maybe the desktop or the Discord, because you mentioned it.
Extra nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get that. George can get that and put that in there.
I'm just gonna type it in just in case I don't forget. But okay, thank you, Nils, for coming out.
This is a very interesting itch.io page. I'll say that before we close.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Weird stuff.
Love it. Hope to talk to you again, Nils, and I'll see you next week, probably, Zach.
Okay.
And I hope that Anthony can join us. Anthony just told us that he had a really, really bad cold, so I hope he's okay.
He was indisposed of.
Yes. Shout out to Anthony.
Hang in there, Anthony. Cat poster.
I'll meet him next time with our other game.
Yes, that sounds perfect. That sounds nice.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay. Another game.
Okay.
There's always other games.
All right. See you guys.
Nice meeting you. Bye, I guess.
Bye, and see you again.
Another one gone.
Yes.
I'm getting a lot of